Hello and welcome to Weirdos in the Wild with our co-host, AJ Oxley, paranormal investigator with Beyond This Life Paranormal and multi-generational paranormal enthusiast, and Lynn Tincher, Beyond This Life paranormal investigator, Reiki master, published author, and near-death experiencer. Travel with them, a couple of everyday weirdos on a wild ride to all things paranormal and metaphysical.
Coming up on Weirdos in the Wild, Keith H., the rock and roll ghost hunter, joins AJ and Lynn. You may know him as the original tour guide for ghost hunts at Waverly Hills. He talks about how he got into the paranormal, as well as his thoughts on ghost hunting, Skinwalker Ranch, making movies, and television shows. Stick around for more.
Hyder Publications is your one-stop shop for genre fiction, including those from horror master Michael West, starting with Poseidon's Children, The Legacy of the Gods, Book 1. Man no longer worships the old gods, forgotten and forsaken. They become nothing more than myth and legend. But all that is about to change after the ruins of a vast, ancient civilization are discovered on the ocean floor. Coast Guard officers find a series of derelict ships drifting in the current, high-priced yachts and leaking fishing boats, all ransacked and splattered with blood. Their crews missing and presumed dead, and that's just the beginning.
Do you struggle with depression, ongoing medical issues, or have you experienced past trauma? If you have, please consider the help of energetic healing. At Dragonfly Pond Holistic Services, we utilize Karuna Reiki, crystals to align and heal chakra function, meditation, and sound healing to address these issues and help you in your healing process. To learn more about energetic healing and how to contact us, visit our website at dragonflypondenergy.com. For those who call in to schedule an appointment, mention this ad and receive $25 off your initial visit.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to our latest episode of Weirdos in the Wild. I'm AJ.
And I'm Lynn.
And we have a really special guest with you, but we're going to make you wait a minute. Because, first of all, I'm going to tell you, if you have a story you want to tell us, we want to hear it. So visit our website at weirdosatthewild.com. You can go to our Instagram, our TikTok. We got a YouTube channel. I don't know what else we got. What else we got, Lynn? Is that it? But we'd love to hear your story. And if we think it's really interesting, we may call you up and interview you, and you could be on our next podcast. So without further ado, I'm going to let Lynn introduce our very, very special guest that we're so glad to have with us today. You're going to love it, folks.
Yes, we're very, very excited. I've known this person for quite a few years now, and if you are any bit immersed in the world of paranormal or music, basically, in the last few years, you've probably heard of the infamous Keith H. He's also a filmmaker and all-around fantastic guy. I'm really blessed to be able to call friend. Keith, if you want to say hi to everybody.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you for that great little send-off.
Well, I'm sure I've got a whole list of things that you're involved with.
Keith H., yes, the rock and roll ghost hunter is with us, and we're really happy to have him with us.
You're very much immersed into the paranormal world, and I know I learn a lot from you every day. I learned some stuff from you just today, as a matter of fact. So what got you interested and got you going down the path?
Well, you got to remember when I started getting into this was the late 70s. So you had to kind of be careful. If you said the wrong thing to the wrong person, you'd have the little men in the little white coats with the great big nets running. But what got me started was something I wasn't expecting. My life in the 70s, I'd been touring all over the world and playing in bands. And so my life was music, period. The whole adage sex, drugs, and rock and roll from the 70s, hell, I lived it. And I got off the road, and when I was almost 17, met this young lady who would never take me home to meet her mom and dad. And I just kind of figured it's because, the 70s rock and roll look I had, the long hair, the leather clothes, and the beard. And, this is a musician. So finally, on her 17th birthday, they invited me to come over. Her parents did as a surprise to her. And yes, she was extremely surprised. And I said, well, look, I don't think it's because your parents don't like me, because they're the ones that invited me here. And she said, no, it's not that. Because we have a ghost in the house, and he doesn't like me and me or my sister's boyfriends. And I was like, yeah, right. Let's go smoke another one. Like I said, you got to keep in mind, this was the 70s. So we go in, just a little ranch house, nothing scary looking or nothing, and nothing out of the ordinary. Meet her mom and her dad, and he motions us to sit down on the couch. Well, when we do, we can see down the hallway of this house into the master bedroom, and there's a mirror on the wall facing us, and we could see our reflection. Well, as we're talking and enjoying the evening, something kept walking across that mirror, breaking the image. And so, me being curious like I am, I said, "Who's in there?" And she said, "There's nobody." And I was, "Oh, that, that's crazy." So I went down there, and sure enough, tore the room apart. Nobody down there. So
Wow.
that's when she sat there and said, "That's our ghost. He's watching us." And us being young, dumb, and stupid at that point, start calling this thing out, saying, "Show me, do something, prove to me you exist." I don't believe in you. So we had dinner, and the evening went on, and I went to kiss her goodnight at the front door in the living room, and as I bent down to kiss her, I could see her dad sitting in a lazy boy to my right, had a wall to my left, and the door was to my back. And just as soon as I kissed her, something grabbed my arm. I mean, strong, hard, and just flung me hard. And I went through the front door, through the screen door, and I landed about 6 feet out in the grass, trying to catch my breath and counting my fingers, my toes, what's working, what's not. And then I thought, man, that was so effing cool. Do it again. So that's how I got started in the paranormal. Something very violent and something that caught my eye.
Yeah, that'll get your attention. So what did this thing look like in the mirror?
It was just a black shape that broke the image.
So it's kind of like a shadow person, I guess.
Yeah, well, it was dark anyway.
Oh.
Just the light from the hall coming in, and we could see our reflection, but that's about it.
So what did you do after that? Did you go back?
Yeah, I kind of eventually became the adopted oldest son, and I didn't see those people for almost 30 years. Uh, Finally, kind of figured out it was the, or we thought it was the original builder of the neighborhood. This was the very first house that was built. He built it for his wife, and she died of cancer in that bedroom. And then, he built the rest of the neighborhood, and then they were the third people to move into the house. And they just thought it was just strange stuff going on. And, they lived there for about 30 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
then they moved, and I didn't see them for almost 35 years until the father was very sick, and the daughter got a hold of me, let me know that he was in the hospital. And I went to the hospital, saw him, and they moved. They're now out in Hillview, and they actually sold the house several times and have been sued several times, even though they've told the people who are buying the house that hey, we think this place is haunted, and you're coming in at your own peril. They can't keep nobody there.
I wonder if anybody's ever tried to cleanse it or anything.
I don't know. Like I said, back in the 70s and 80s, I did junior ghost hunting stuff that I could think of back then, because you couldn't find no books or anything in the libraries except for a few books by Holzner and Bruck, but most of it was about Bigfoots and aliens and stuff like that, but not about hauntings and or how to investigate hauntings.
So you're a pioneer in the field, basically, at that point.
Well, let's just say by the 90s, most of us that are still in it for the right reasons knew each other. I mean, Zaffis, Hawes, all of us knew each other. Troy Taylor, we knew who each other was, but the internet hadn't even really dawned at that point to where we get together. And hell, it would cost $85 to make a long distance phone call to one of these guys.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
gotta take
people are going long distance. What's that?
what?
We know. We're all old enough to remember that.
That's right. We're old
And
weird.
our parents wouldn't let us make those long distance calls
No.
Yeah,
at
yeah.
17, right, Keith?
Oh, I know. Well, like I said, I was on the road playing music around the world when I was 16. So I pretty much did what I wanted anyway. I had plenty of money, and whatever I wanted to do, I could do.
So you were a young guy, you're playing music at 16, 17, traveling around. And so as you would travel, would you try to, go to haunted locations while you were out on your doing music?
It was a lot different back then. And it's still some of it's still the same way today. You don't have time to go exploring because when you're doing a show from town to town or state to state, you're on the bus, and
Yeah.
you eat your meals on the bus, and you get to the hotel room if you're staying overnight or something, which back then wasn't real likely. You just didn't have time to do it. I wish I did. Back in the 90s is when I started really going out investigating and teaching and doing that because I had basically 20 years under my belt at that point. And people were starting to find it interesting. And there were some, I loved the show with Leonard Nimoy in Search Of,
Hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really hot for 11 years. And then it was kind of dry field at that point until something new came on. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, that's when they started having a few paranormal shows on. But it wasn't until 2004 when Ghost Hunters came on, it just exploded. And then we came on in 2005, me and the Booth Brothers with Spooked.
I'm going to back you up a little bit, I think. I know you were the ghost hunter that kicked off Waverly Hills, which is the most famous haunted place in the world, I believe. How did you get hooked up with that?
Well, I'd been to Waverly as a kid. That's the place to get up here and go exploring because it was closed. That was the local haunted spot. And then in '99, when Charlie and Tina Mattingly bought it, I introduced myself to them and I said I'd like to help clean up the place and with the Louisville Ghost Hunters, which we did. And then got up here and it started from there. My request was we'd help you clean up if you let me investigate. And that's what they did. So that's how that all started. And then early 2000s, they asked if I could get up here and give a tour, which I did. And then it just blew up after that point.
It's like almost everyone I talked to that went to Waverly Hills back in the day, Keith Age was their tour guide. I hear that all.
Yeah, me or one of my guys from Louisville Ghost Hunters, but I usually did the bulk of it. Yeah.
So
Those were fun times, and that's just like I just went back to Waverly. I hadn't been there in over 20 years. I did an event there, and people were talking, and I was bringing up a lot of old stories and stuff. And what you see of Waverly Hills now wasn't what it looked like in the early 2000s. I mean, there was so much debris in the floor from where kids had just gone in and destroyed walls, and plus the building was crumbling inside anyway. The dirt, debris, leaves, it was 2 or 3 feet thick in some places.
Puddles of water. I remember that too.
Oh, yeah.
What was your biggest event there? And not necessarily event like you were holding an event, but what happened to you at Waverly that is your scariest or biggest moment?
Well, like I've said before, I am an old musician from the 70s. So I don't have many brain cells left. I don't get scared at all, hardly. I might get startled, but that's about it. And probably the most startling things, I saw a lot at Waverly and we documented a lot, but was a lot of people have heard the story about the guy getting hit with bricks and stuff. Well, that was me. I've had my head busted open several times from flying debris in the thing, with whether by myself or with people. So, and then the last time was my very last day at Waverly, 2005 Halloween morning, filming live on Fox News International, National, whatever you call it, and with Jim Bullitt. And we come out of this doorway from the fifth floor, from the hallway, and we stop in front of the camera, and the camera's looking at us. There's a wall like 3 feet behind us in the hallway. It's sunlight, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and this chunk of plaster cement comes right off the wall from behind me, hit me in the back of the head, and takes me right off my feet.
Oh, wow.
And this is, live national news, and Jim Bullitt's screaming, running down the hallway. And the cameraman's looking at me like, dude, say something. I was like, man, I don't even know where I'm at this moment. It hit me so hard. And my guys from the LGHS, they're all picking up the plaster and cement, trying to piece it back together from where it came from, and didn't worry about helping me up. But like I said, I have never been scared. My curiosity goes first. It's like, okay, what was that? And where did it come from? And let's see if we can recreate it.
Mm-hmm.
And, and against the cop mentality in me too, that I go forward, not back, unless you just absolutely have to. And, and again, my curiosity. So, you know, I won't tell you anything about orbs because you know how I feel about that. Because anything you can reproduce 99.9% is not paranormal.
Right.
And, I'm a photography major. So, when it comes to orbs, like I said, you can pretty much reproduce them. And the thing people don't understand because they see what they see on TV is that, and I've got a TV show too, and I'm even doing another one right now. 95% of quote hauntings that people get scared of in their house can be explained away, naturally by common sense and natural cause. But they want to jump to that conclusion so fast. It's, oh my God, it's a ghost or it's a demon. And, we can thank TV for that.
Yeah.
Mostly certain person on a certain channel. And
yeah.
We all know
but
that
anyway,
person.
Yes.
yeah, yeah. I won't mention names, but but when you have that real, true paranormal activity and you capture it, whether it's just by your eyes or by audio, video, whatever, you're hooked.
Yeah.
When you can't explain it, that's like your brother was with me years ago, where I had a guy call and said, "You got to come out right now." I was like, "Well, what's going on?" And he says, "My house is. I'm just going to walk away from it, and let the bank have it." And he goes, "And I don't want to do that, but I don't know what else to do." And I'm like, "Well, what's going on?" He says, "I just had a team come out here. They were here for 15 minutes, and they went screaming out the door, running out the door." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, they told me I had 7 demons living underneath my stairs." And so me, John, Bobby, and a few others went out there, and we're looking, and we spent 6 months out there investigating this place. And one of his things was the TV turns on by itself, doors open and close by themselves. You can hear people walking up and down the steps. So we spent a lot of time out there, and we were able to debunk everything. The doors that opened and closed, we never captured them closing. We did capture them opening, but that's because they were out of plumb. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't level, and they just open up. And then same thing with some cabinets in the kitchen, and then the TV. We did witness it happening a few times, and channels would start changing, volume would go up and down. And so I asked him, "Where'd you get this from?" He said, "I bought that at Walmart. It was on sale." He said it was just too good a deal to pass up. So we said, "Oh, wow, cool." So then I went next door to the neighbor and asked him if they were having any issues and stuff. He goes, "Well, just my TV. It keeps turning off and on and changing channels." And I said, "Show me where it's at." He shows me, and it's on the direct opposite wall of where the guy next door has his. I said, "Okay, Ghost is now debunked because he bought the same TV, same sale, had same remote. It's just line of sight.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
whenever this guy next door would turn on the football game or something, this guy's TV turn on. So now there's two things debunked. Never saw any demons, never heard any growls, never saw Satan tap dancing on a table. Uh, and then he says, "Well, what about the footsteps up and down the steps?" So we set up a couple cameras when we weren't there, and we go back and check them, and we found it. We found what was going on. They had a big German Shepherd who liked to get up top of the stairs and roll his ball down the steps. And when that ball would hit down the steps, you'd hear a thump, 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 like somebody walking down the steps. And then you'd hear the dog go down the steps, and he was a big, big, heavy dog. So you could hear him. It sounded like a herd of elephants going up and down. And then he'd come back up with the ball again and roll it down the steps. So finally, after 6 months, I said, "Well, we're out of here, bud." And he's like, "Well, what happened to the seven demons that were living underneath my stairs?" I said, "I think they left 15 minutes after they got here."
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
just an unexperienced team who scared the hell out of somebody.
Yeah, you definitely have to go into an investigation with a healthy dose of skepticism,
Mm-hmm.
or you're just going to believe every little thing that happens.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
you know.
And you also had to be a little bit of everything. You got to know a little bit about electricity, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about carpentry, the law. You have to know about the law because every state's a little different. And it's amazing what you have to learn. I mean, I'll still go back to an old bag of tricks where somebody says, "I got something that walks down the hall every night." I'll go sprinkle flour on this floor, see if something walks through it. So yeah, you got to make sure you clean that up. But
Yeah. And another important thing too is to understand your equipment and what it's used for. Because I just learned recently that I was really trying to use the K2 meters incorrectly. That you're supposed to go through and measure K2 or EMF in the place before you investigate, and then so you kind of get the baseline that's
yep,
really what it's for. And I was researching this information that said, if you have real high levels of EMF in a location, it can make you feel dizzy, it can make you feel sick, it can make you feel like you're being watched. So all those
oh
things
yeah,
be because of the high electromagnetic fields of the area, and not necessarily something paranormal. So
yeah, it creates a fear trap.
yeah, so it's really important to take the time and learn what, just because you're in a place and the EMF meter goes off, it doesn't necessarily mean something's going on.
Yeah, one of my big things when I'm teaching, I tell people know your craft.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's photography, uh, sound engineering, or cameras, video cameras, regular cameras, or audio EVP stuff. Know what you're doing. Know how that piece of equipment works, why it works, and what it's able to do and capture. I just like uh, for years I used Tascam recorders, but that's because I used Tascam gear through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And they fantastic microphones on them. And then Zoom came out, and now I've pretty much switched over to Zoom for almost everything. And when we're filming, I use Zoom recorders, for the audio. And I let a friend borrow my Zoom HN1 while we were up at Waverly, and she was walking around with my wife, and she's like, "Oh my God!" She's like, she had headphones on, like I told her to, and she's like, "You can hear so much with these microphones." I said, "Right," and look how small it is. It'll record for an hour, or you can just set it somewhere and record for an hour. You got to know your stuff. You got to know how it works and why it works, and why people think EMF is such a big deal. People also have what's called ley lines underneath their properties and stuff they don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
And these things will pick that up, or even underground creeks and flows of water. It'll pick that up. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
Oh, and you're fine. And it picks up like, wiring in your wall and, just different things that you're not necessarily thinking about. So it's good to go into a place and find out where those things are before you start, so you don't get thrown off later when you're, investigating, trying to.
Here's a little tip. If you go someplace and your EMF meter goes off in the same place every time, it's not supernatural. It's probably something man-made.
Right.
It's when you're standing there and all of a sudden it moves 5 feet to your left and you're going, whoa, what? And then that spot is no longer active that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Then you do something interesting,
Or you can chase it, to follow it along and, see that it's moving. So, there's a lot of tricks and tips that, I'm looking forward to learning from you, Keith.
Well, that brings me up at the end of this month. Me and Rick Hayes will be giving a class at Post Town, both the psychic side and also the investigator side. And then after the classes are done, we're going to be investigating Post Town. Yeah, Post Town is one of my favorite places, not only because of what we are able to capture there, but also the owners, Brenda and Daryl and Wisman, are just super people.
Yeah, they are. I agree.
Yeah, we've been, both Lynn and I have been there. It's a it's active place for sure.
Well, your brother John and I, when we were traveling all over the country, we'd be coming back and it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're dead dog tired. We'd call Daryl if we were close. Said, "You got room for us to come in? Come on in. Doors open." She had the couches ready to pillow and a blanket. She called us boys and sleep here, boys, and she made us good old style country breakfast the next morning. So I mean, these are when you hear people say they'll give the shirt off their back, these are two people that will.
Yeah, we really enjoyed meeting them, getting to know them a little bit a while back. We stayed overnight too and slept in their room that they have set up now for people if they want to bunk. So I mean, they treat you right, and it's an amazing place to investigate too.
Yeah,
on there. So you mentioned the class. How can people find out about where to sign up?
Just find me on my Facebook page and or Rick Hayes's page. We've got them on there. It's going to be very interesting for the simple fact, people are psychic. I'm not anti-psychic. I'm anti-idiot. And some of my closest friends are psychics. Rick I've known for almost 30 years. I call him my uglier older brother, but I love him to death, and there isn't anything I wouldn't do for him. And Scotty Rourke, I've known him for a long, long time. Like I said, Chris Fleming, we've been friends for a long, long time. So these are some of the top psychics. And the thing is just when there are some people who do the whole ooga booga shtick and I see this, I feel this. Oh, there's a ghost over there, and I'm sitting here with a thermal imager and other pieces of equipment. It's not picking up nothing. I'm like, this is somebody just trying to, to create a shock or a scare. But anyway, it just if people are in it for the right reason, and that's one of the big things I tell people: get it. If you're in it for just to be scared and the thrill and hope to be on TV or write a major selling book, you're in it for the wrong reason because paranormal pay sucks.
Yeah.
Number one, if you're in it for the right reason, then go do it for the right reason and learn, not just from the watching TV shows because you're seeing, you know, 15, 20 minutes of things that were shot for a long time ago and has been heavily edited for entertainment purposes. Uh, that's one of the good things I do like about all the shows I've been in, including the one I'm doing now, is if we don't find nothing, we don't find nothing. If we find something and I can explain it, then that's what we say. But if we find something we can't explain, you know, uh, that's what's on film, and
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
Hear more from rock and roll ghost hunter Keith Age after a word from our sponsors.
Hydra Publications is your one-stop shop for genre fiction, including those from horror master Michael West, starting with Poseidon's Children, The Legacy of the Gods, Book 1. Man no longer worships the old gods, forgotten and forsaken. They become nothing more than myth and legend. But all that is about to change after the ruins of a vast ancient civilization are discovered on the ocean floor. Coast Guard officers find a series of derelict ships drifting in the current, high-priced yachts and leaking fishing boats, all ransacked and splattered with blood. Their crews missing and presumed dead, and that's just the beginning.
Do you struggle with depression, ongoing medical issues, or have you experienced past trauma? If you have, please consider the help of energetic healing. At Dragonfly Pond Holistic Services, we utilize Karuna Reiki, crystals to align and heal chakra function, meditation, and sound healing to address these issues and help you in your healing process. To learn more about energetic healing and how to contact us, visit our website at dragonflypondenergy.com. For those who call in to schedule an appointment, mention this ad and receive $25 off your initial visit. Welcome back to Weirdos in the Wild. Before we return to our program, AJ and I would like to take a moment to remember my brother John Tincher, co-founder of Beyond This Life Paranormal, and Alan Oxley, AJ's father. Both passed away just before we recorded our first episode. Each and every episode going forward, from this one on, will be in remembrance of them. Thank you.
Oh, you're kind of taken back. You kind of brought it back to where a question I was going to ask you, Keith, because you mentioned earlier, 2004, 2005, you were on TV at that point in time with the Booth Brothers, with Spooked and Ghost Hunters, and those two shows are probably the first shows, right? And you guys kind of kicked that off.
Well, Ghost Hunters kicked it off. They started the boom in 2004. Like I said, we came along in 2005, and then the shows that were on at that time were Ghost Hunters, Us, and Haunting Evidence with Patrick Burns. And those were three very big shows. And, Ghost Hunters had the weekly anthem, and as did Patrick. And then we had, every 3 or 4 months we had a 2-hour documentary. So, yeah, they were big back then.
Yeah.
The boom's about bust, though,
Yeah.
because it's the same thing over and over again. Nothing new is being shown.
Yeah, and all the stuff that's been in the news about things being faked and, like you said, for entertainment purposes only. And
yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's hard to find the real genuine people and the real genuine.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why the field hasn't advanced. It's a double-edged sword. But when we can get the actual scientists involved, that's when I think we'll start making progress.
Yeah, just like with the Skinwalker Ranch, getting actual money thrown at it where they can bring in the right equipment and tools and I think you hear all the time is what's Travis always say, that don't make no sense. I love it, but
I've watched it and I enjoy it, but you also got to remember it's made for entertainment purposes. It's called ratings. If you don't have ratings, you don't have the money, you won't be on very long.
That's right.
And you know, but they're key. I've been out to Skinwalker Ranch and spent some time out there, and it is a very eerie place, and weird things happen. Uh, I'm into UFOs and stuff, but I'm not like they are,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm more interested in the ghost side of stuff, and like the Skinwalkers themselves, but they are getting some uh, evidence caught that hasn't been seen before, but they are using first of all, equipment that we'll never see because it's stuff from NASA, and we're just little laymen here that trying to figure out ways to do stuff. We're not, some of us have PhDs. I do not. I'm not looking to do one either, but I'm just an old grizzly old ghost hunter, and but you can't keep doing things the same way. And you've got to either expand or die. It's that simple, and that's what's happening with our field. You know, it's great to be excited, and I still get excited when we get things that I can't explain after we've looked at it for a while.
Yeah. And that's, I think, part of the reason why AJ and I really got into this and wanted to do the podcast, because we wanted to do it from a genuine perspective. That we're learn with us. Here's what we've seen, here's what we found out, but we're not going to try to fake anything. If we go someplace and there's nothing there, there's nothing there. We'll move on.
Well, it doesn't mean there's nothing there. It just means nothing happened while you were there.
Right. Because the first time we went to Octagon Hall, and I love Octagon Hall, we had things happen, but it wasn't a whole lot. So we were kind of discouraged, but we were like, okay, we'll go back and we'll give it another shot. And then when we went back, it was off the hook. So we know, some days are just not primed, or whatever's in the atmosphere, or who knows why things don't happen on certain days and do on others. So,
oh yeah, that's just like Waverly. Of the 5 years I spent up there were some days that it just went crazy, and then there were other times when it was just dead silent.
mm-hmm.
And and you never knew what to expect. If we could get up here and say, okay, this is going to happen, when it's going to happen, we'd all have PhDs the size of our houses behind our names.
That's right.
But we're not at that point yet. You got people like Billy Chappell, who are electrical engineers that are creating this stuff. And for those that don't know who Billy Chappell is, he's the guy that created the ELS system and a bunch of other stuff. We need people like that in the field. So always get up here if you can think of something and figure out, well, let's try this. That's just like the laser grid system. I was doing that back in the 90s with 25 lasers I bought from Walmart. We didn't have a laser pen that shot out green little dots everywhere.
Yeah.
I spent a couple $100 on these lasers, and that set them up where they shoot down a hallway. Always try new stuff.
Is there any piece of equipment out there that you think is just garbage?
Garbage?
Yeah, that does just absolutely is not what it claims to be.
K2.
And why?
Because the reason why it became famous because they saw it on Ghost Hunters. And it went from a $25 piece of equipment to a $190 piece of equipment. And when you go to your local hardware store and buy the same thing, it's called an elf meter. Only difference is it only costs about $19.99 and has 3 lights on it, and that's it. The K2 is not shielded in any way, shape, or form. So anything that gives off an electromagnetic burst or a magnetic burst or a signal, it's going to turn it on. Same thing with when you're dealing with, look at my flashlight turning off and on. Well, that's called thermal dynamics. Again, you have to know a little bit about everything. It's not because the ghost is turning the flashlight on. It's because of thermal dynamics, heat, metal, electricity. vibration goes a long way.
That's why we have Becca on our team with her physics degree to help us explain.
She's our scientist.
Yeah.
And that's great. And that's what you need. Those people that can actually figure those things usually are not liked very well because they poo-poo everything. That's just like I love using thermal. It's a science. We know it's science. And for the stuff that I caught for the possessed, I sent it back to FLIR and said, "What the hell is this?" And they're like, "Give us all the parameters." I gave it to them, and they got me back on the phone and says, "We have no idea what this is." So I'm like, going, "Great, the scientists are telling me that." Years ago, there used to be a weatherman on Fox Local News here. His name was Kevin. I can't think of his last name. I took him up to Waverly Hills with me, and we'd walk into some areas where the temperature would drop 50, 60 degrees. And he'd turn around and look at me and he'd like, "What is that? What the hell is that?" And I'm like going, "You're the scientist. You tell me." you know, this is it's phenomena. People get up there and I don't even use the term ghosts anymore. I use phenomena because it could be some little green men in some far off planet going, "Watch this." We don't know. It's a phenomena that we have not been able to give it an exact name yet, other than hauntings or ghosts.
Right.
Or demon.
With you, Keith. I've got to the point calling it entities.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it is.
Right. It's a phenomena going on that we don't know how to explain it yet. It's like people go, "Well, why aren't you on it to help ghosts?" And I'm like, first of all, you got to prove to me it is a ghost, that they need help. I said, I'm more interested in catching lightning in the bottle and, to see if we can reproduce it or not. Or, hey, yeah, this is, an entity from another dimension or from another time that's dead. That's what I'm interested in. I love thermal. I also like using the full spectrum camera. Because these are things we can't see with our eyes.
Right.
When you capture something with your eyes, that's great. And, you get some type of response from it. But when you capture it and it's recorded, that's when you really got something interesting.
That's when it's actually considered empirical evidence.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just like EVPs. I love EVPs. That's why I like using the Zoom stuff. Yeah, I've got some stuff that's just a little bit more expensive, but that's because I'm a musician. I need that stuff. And we can run microphones out of it, good quality, stage microphones where you Shure microphones. We can run it 50, 100 feet in different directions. And, some of them we can do 4 mics like that all over the place and just set them up. That way we can control the environment and we know there's nobody around. And all of a sudden we're getting speech on these microphones. You can look at it and see which mic is being recording on. And that tells you where that mic was and what area in the building you're in. So, it's always best to try and get up here and do things. I know I say scientific, but even though nobody is really scientists, but to set up the parameters where nothing else can touch this stuff, nobody can be in the same area, because eventually what's going to happen is everything's going to be done by remote. I feel like, set your cameras up, go watch in a command center, see what happens. If you're out walking around, you're doing that because you're trying to get an interaction, and that's great and it's fine. But like I said, eventually I think it'll all be done by remote.
It makes you wonder what all happens that, like, does the tree and the fall in the forest make a sound? What all happens when nobody's there to hear it or see it?
Right. I've been doing this going on 50 years, and I know I just dated myself. Anyway, uh, I have never had Bob the Ghost walk up and go, "Hi, I'm Bob." I'm still waiting for that day, you know.
Well, AJ and I've had that kind of.
You've
Almost
had Bob walk up and go, "Hi, I'm Bob."
He didn't say Bob, no.
no. But he did step out in front of us and stare at me and him and Becca for a good 15 to 20 seconds.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. I've never actually quote seen a ghost.
And I'm like, this will never happen again.
And you probably didn't have a camera in your hand.
I had it in my hand. I didn't have it on. I was too stunned to pick it up or pull it up to film anything.
Yeah.
We were,
and that's natural, you know.
it was we were just dumbfounded. we all of us had iPhones in our pockets. We could have pulled them out. I mean,
Yeah.
none of us did.
iPhones and stuff, they got really good cameras and stuff on them. But it's like people get up and go, "Well, I've got this app." Screw those apps.
Yeah.
They're games. That's what they're made for. And to prove the point, and somebody go, "I got an EMF meter on my phone." Well, no, you don't. The phone's not made to do that, you know. And that's just like in the mailbox right now. I have got an old Dr. Gauss meter, the original ones that I just bought, and that's what you need, a real EMF meter, Gauss meter, Gauss, Gauss. And so you put a phone up next to an amplifier that's turned on. Even if it's turned off, it'll still do it. The magnets in the speakers will set off an EMF meter. It'll make them scream. Well, when you put a phone up to it with an EMF meter on it, it doesn't do anything. Guess what? It's not working. It's not an EMF meter, it's a toy.
And I kind of feel that way about I do feel that way about the apps on the phone that are supposed to act as spirit boxes.
Don't even get me started on spirit boxes. Why you want to play with a broken radio? I know some people say they've had great responses from it, but I tell you what, every time I've ever been around a spirit box or a hack shack or anything like that, all I hear is wah 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 wah, and the person doing it goes, "It says Satan is calling you." I'm like, really? I hear my phone ringing, So I know I can be a bummer, but hey, that's my experience.
Yeah, that healthy dose of skepticism.
That's right.
Well, it's not so much skepticism as, okay, how come they're hearing this and I'm not? Well, once they say it's what it's saying, then everybody in the room goes, "Oh my God." You just put that in people's brain. And that's a big part of what the fakeism, with the paranormal field is about.
Mm-hmm.
Our brains are made to get up here and accept ideas, thoughts, words. You look up in the sky and clouds, and Lynn might see Donald Duck, AJ might see a dragon, and I see a beer truck. Our minds are designed to see shapes and images and to hear things.
Faces and everything.
Oh yeah, that way your brain makes sense out of everything. That's like people have sent me tons of pictures, and they go, "Look, somebody's staring at us," and I'm going, "Look, it's dirt in this rock wall." It's the way the leaves.
Or send you a video of an orb, and you say it's a bug.
I wouldn't do that.
No, not at all.
Wouldn't do that at all. I'd say it was your Uncle Herschel. We only use 10% of our brain. We don't know what the other, 90% of it's doing. We don't know what it recreates and what it creates. There's a lot of it out there. Like I said, we're just data takers right now, and that's all we can be.
So if there's one place you would want the field, one direction you would want this field to go, Keith, where would you say?
More at a scientific level, psychic level is great, but you can't quantify a feeling. but
Hmm.
we're almost to the point where science is catching up with the psychic level, where there are machines that are out there and are able to start feeling your emotions, not your thoughts, but your emotions. And that's where I like it to go. People just be a little bit more scientific about it and not just go, "Oh, did you hear that?" You know, or "Wow, I'm possessed." Do real field research and searching. That's all. That's why I like my new TV show we're filming called Bourbon Spirits.
Well, why don't you tell us about that, or if you can, or if you want to a little bit, we'd love to for you to
Well,
tell us.
it'll be released later this year on YouTube's new streaming service that they're coming out with. As a matter of fact, you guys have been in a couple of episodes. And you're getting ready to be in another one this weekend. Uh, you
We're
know,
not trying to promote ourselves, Keith. Don't worry.
well, that's why I'm promoting you. You know, because you don't go into it running and screaming the other way when something does happen. You do get up here and just, oh, that's cool. And let's try to figure it out. And plus, you put up with the filming attitude of it too. It's hurry up and wait.
Been there, done that a few times.
A lot of times you've said tonight, Keith, like being in for the right reason. And just like now, you said, you all are cool about it. You don't run away from it. You know, the reason that I got into it, and I think the reason Lynn got into it, is I had stuff happen to me and I couldn't explain it. I couldn't explain it for the longest part of my life. And then finally, Lynn said, "Come on, come with me, come with John, and we're going to start doing this." And I jumped at it so I could answer some of these questions.
Yeah, or try to answer them.
More
Or
questions.
Yes.
get a better sense of what's happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm still waiting to hear Bob go, "Okay, my name is Bob. I'm hunting you." I'm still waiting for that.
Well, maybe you'll get it this weekend.
I hope so. It'd be nice.
So how many episodes are going to be in your bourbon spirits, or is it just going to
Bourbon
be a
Spears, there's going to be 7 episodes
okay?
for the first season. And listen, we hope it takes off and we can do more, but don't know. Uh,
So what's the premise? What's your goal with Bourbon Spirits?
the goal is to try and capture some really good, solid evidence, and also to do a little teaching with the fact of things we've talked about tonight. If we don't capture something, we don't capture it. It just means it didn't happen while we were there. Uh, or if we capture stuff that we can explain and say, here's what's happening. John went with me a lot on the first couple of episodes, and he actually captured some stuff that was just amazing on the camera. And John was also the second unit cameraman. And so, but John and I have known each other for a very long time. Before him and I traveled all over the country, he had joined my group, the Louisville Ghost Hunters, and he liked how I did things and how I approached stuff. You know, it wasn't just going ooh, ooh, there's ooga booga. Hear that? It was with common sense and knowledge. That's what I try to show and help people understand. It's great to be excited, but you can't let that excitement affect or cloud your judgment on what you're seeing or what you're hearing. Uh,
It
you
sounds
know,
like you love to teach this too, Keith. This field to people.
well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't think about teaching until here this last year or last couple of years with the epidemic and everything. I'm a road dog. I have been from the time I was 16. I love being on the road, and usually I do 48 to 51 gigs a year, whether it's with the paranormal or with a band. And during the pandemic, I went from 48 gigs a year to three, and then the next year nothing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then I think everything has changed, not just the field. And I will admit, I'm not the maverick I used to be. I'm getting older. I think teaching is probably the next level. we'll see on after the 29th, after me and Rick Hayes do a teaching class at Poasttown.
Well, I know for a fact that John learned a lot from you. And because of that, AJ and I learned a lot from John. So your knowledge has, been passed down through John to us. And, I'm looking forward to doing this more with you and learning more from you in the future, because I know what an impact you had on John. So,
John, I love John to death. You know that.
mhm.
And I think the feeling was mutual. And he was the brother, even though I got a brother, he was the brother I never really had. And we hit so many different subjects together that we both love. And whether it was the paranormal or music, John and I just had a good time being with each other.
Mhm.
And it's fun, it's easy to do stuff. And if I can get up there and push out a little bit of what I know, and people look at it and go, "Oh, that does make sense," then that's the way to do it, I think.
I agree.
And I'm glad you guys learned a little bit from John, who learned a little bit from me.
That's right. John was a very patient and very phenomenal teacher too. So
Yes, he was.
Funny as hell.
yeah, miss that turd every day.
Yeah, same here. Like I told you before, John and I talked 2 or 3 times on the phone or texted every day about different things or ideas, and still go to do something and go to pick up the phone and talk to him. So
He's with us every day.
mm-hmm.
He now has the answers that we've been seeking. So
Yeah, I can see him sitting up there going, "No, stupid, that's not why we do this."
maybe he'll walk up and say, "Hey, Keith, I'm John." Yeah. You'll get your ghost.
Hey, remember me?
My name's not Bob, but am I close enough?
Well, I mean, I'm close to your family. I have been for a long time. It's like your mom. I can't even remember where it was at. I've told you this before, and she says she doesn't remember, but John said something smart, and she ended up slapping me because she thought I said it, and I'm like, "Whoa," you know. She said, "I'll treat you like one of my own kids," and yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that sounds her, even though she denies it, and she'll continue to deny it. But
Oh, I'm wanting to say when he took her to Hannah House, because I remember being outside and it happening, and that's the only time I can really remember being outside with her. Because I know she didn't do it inside a restaurant; it was outside.
yeah,
And he laughed his butt off over it. But I'm like, "Thanks, man, appreciate it. I always love getting slapped."
well, do you have anything beyond your bourbon spirits that you're working on, or?
Well, JC Rositas and I are producing partners, and we've actually got a couple things. We've got a couple documentaries and stuff we're working on about music people and different things, and also we're looking at doing a movie, uh, possibly. We don't know yet. And then I got a lot of dates and gigs coming up. I said next weekend I'll be in Fort Wayne, me and Jason Snyder and Santiago Cirillo, and then I'll be at Santiago's event in Arkansas and a couple others, and I can't remember all the dates. I'm sorry, I'm old.
Well, anybody just needs to follow you on Facebook. They can keep up with you there.
Yep, just follow me on Facebook and send me a message. I got about 10,000 people right now who want to be friends. So if you heard me on the show, hey, send me a message saying, "I heard John, uh, Lynn, and AJ show, and I'd like to be friends." That way I know you're not some hacker just trying to get in.
Plus, Robin will help filter that out for you.
Lynn, do y'all have a full spectrum camera?
I have a FLIR, and then I have a night vision.
Okay. Would y'all like to walk around with the full spectrum camera?
Would love to.
Yes.
I'll bring it with me this weekend.
That's the one that shows everything, right?
Yeah, every spectrum
All
except for heat or cold.
Yeah, that's what the FLIR is for.
Yeah.
So we like our FLIR. AJ uses that a lot.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, we've
Like I said, that's a true science. You can't argue with it. It's either this or that.
yep.
I don't know, Lynn, did I send you some of the stuff we captured with my FLIR at Cynthiana?
No.
Yeah, we caught some great stuff.
Yeah.
Now you just gotta wait. Now you gotta wait till it comes out.
That's right.
Darn. What's the point of knowing somebody if you don't get the sneak peeks, right?
Well,
AJ, we can wrap it up now.
yes. Thank you, Keith. We really appreciate you taking the time out to be with us.
Again, thank y'all for having me. It's been fun.
We enjoy it, and we're looking forward to having you back.
Yep.
Whenever you want.
All right.
When we catch some of this amazing stuff, we got to have you back to talk about it. So,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, definitely.
All right, Lynn, take us out of here.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and keep it weird, y'all.
Hydra Publications is your one-stop shop for genre fiction, including those from horror master Michael West, starting with Poseidon's Children, The Legacy of the Gods, Book 1. Man no longer worships the old gods, forgotten and forsaken. They become nothing more than myth and legend. But all that is about to change after the ruins of a vast ancient civilization are discovered on the ocean floor. Coast Guard officers find a series of derelict ships drifting in the current, high-priced yachts and leaking fishing boats, all ransacked and splattered with blood. Their crews missing and presumed dead, and that's just the beginning.
Do you struggle with depression, ongoing medical issues, or have you experienced past trauma? If you have, please consider the help of energetic healing. At Dragonfly Pond Holistic Services, we utilize Karuna Reiki, crystals to align and heal chakra function, meditation, and sound healing to address these issues and help you in your healing process. To learn more about energetic healing and how to contact us, visit our website at dragonflypondenergy.com. For those who call in to schedule an appointment, mention this ad and receive $25 off your initial visit.
Thank you for joining us at Weirdos in the Wild. Please show us some love and support on our Patreon account at Weirdos in the Wild. Like us on all of our social media. And if you've had an experience you'd like to share with us, visit our site at weirdosinthewild.com. Until next time, keep it weird, y'all.